You're sitting in the doctor's office, and there's that thick manual on the shelf, the DSM. And part of you is thinking, how do they actually decide what I have? It can feel like they're reading from a secret rulebook, written in a language nobody ever taught you. Is it just mood swings? Is it a personality thing? And why did they care so much about that 1 week 3 years ago when I barely slept? Today, I'm going to hand you that rulebook. I'll translate the whole tangle of medical criteria into the 3 keywords clinicians actually listen for: mood episode, duration, and impairment. Show you exactly how those turn into a label like Bipolar 1 or Bipolar 2, and give you a 1-page cheat sheet to bring to your next appointment. And along the way, I'll bust the single most dangerous myth about this diagnosis. The one that quietly leaves people undertreated for years. Stay for that one. I'm Clara from Bipolar Clarity. Let's take a deep breath and demystify the diagnosis. First, what are they even looking at? Bipolar disorder isn't being moody. Everyone is moody. It's a biological condition where the brain's energy regulation shifts gears in a way that is distinct, sustained, and impactful. So a clinician isn't reacting to a single bad day. They're like a meteorologist reading a weather map. One thunderstorm isn't a climate, but a season of storms is. And to define that climate, they look for 3 checkmarks: mood episode, duration, and impairment. Let's take them one at a time. Checkmark 1, the mood episode. A cluster of symptoms that hang together into a distinct stretch where your battery runs at a different voltage. There are 3 kinds. First, mania, your internal radio cranked to 10. Abnormally high energy and mood. Euphoric and invincible, or just intensely irritable and agitated. You need far less sleep, maybe 2 or 3 hours. And you don't feel tired. Thoughts race. You talk so fast no one can cut in. 5 new projects, big risks with money, safety, relationships. Second, hypomania. That same radio at a 7. Clearly louder than your normal self, but it doesn't blow the speakers. More productive, more social, sharper. Sleeping maybe 5 hours instead of 8. And here's the tricky part. It often feels good, like you're just having a great week. But it's still a real shift in your biology. Third, major depression. The radio turned down to 1. Low mood, no interest, heavy fatigue, slow thinking. Not sadness, an absence of vitality. Checkmark 2, duration. And this is where people get confused. I was happy this morning and low tonight. Is that bipolar? Usually no. That's a mood swing. The criteria run on time frames. Mania, about 7 days. Present most of the day, nearly every day, for at least a week. Unless it's severe enough to put you in the hospital, in which case it counts immediately. Hypomania, at least 4 straight days. 1 hyper day and then a crash generally doesn't meet it. Depression, at least 2 weeks in that low state. Why the clocks? Because they separate a biological episode from a reaction to life. A bad day after fighting with your boss is life. 3 weeks low while life is going perfectly fine is a medical episode. Checkmark 3, impairment, the so what factor. High energy on its own isn't a disorder. It becomes a diagnosis when it causes damage. In mania, the impairment is severe by definition. The drained bank account, the wrecked reputation, sometimes psychosis, a genuine loss of touch with reality. Mania disrupts your ability to function. Hypomania is different. It's an observable change in functioning. Others can see it. But it doesn't wreck your life. You might even be doing better at work. So where's the harm? It usually comes from what follows: the crash into depression. In Bipolar 2, the impairment often lives in the depression, not the high. So how do those 3 checkmarks become a label? Let's climb the ladder, because this is exactly where that dangerous myth is hiding. Bipolar 1 is defined by one thing: mania. 1 true manic episode in your entire life, 7 days or a hospitalization. and it's bipolar 1. You don't even need to have had depression, though most people have. Mania is the deciding factor. Bipolar 2 needs 2 things: at least 1 hypomanic episode of 4 days, and at least 1 major depression of 2 weeks. And, crucially, you must never have had a full manic episode. Touch mania once, and the diagnosis flips to bipolar 1. And here's the myth I promised you, because it does real damage. Bipolar 2 is the mild version. That is false, and it's dangerous. The ups are gentler, yes, but the downs are often longer, more frequent, and more treatment-resistant. People with bipolar 2 often spend far more of their lives in depression than people with bipolar 1. It is not the light version. It's a serious condition that deserves serious care. 2 more, quickly: cyclothymia. Think rolling hills, ups and downs for at least 2 years, where the ups never quite reach hypomania, and the downs never quite reach major depression, but the instability is chronic. And other specified bipolar disorder. The label when you clearly have the pattern but miss a rule by a hair. Your hypomania lasted 2 days instead of 4, say. That is not a fake diagnosis. It says your brain is on the bipolar spectrum and needs similar care. Clinicians also add specifiers, extra tags for precision. With rapid cycling doesn't mean hourly mood changes. It means 4 or more distinct episodes in a single year. With psychotic features means you lost touch with reality during an episode. Voices or beliefs that weren't true, and psychosis during an up episode automatically makes it mania and bipolar 1. And with mixed features, the critical one means both poles at once. The heavy hopelessness of depression fused with the racing thoughts and agitation of mania. Tired but wired. It is a very high-risk state, because you have the darkness of depression combined with the energy to act on it. And I have to pause right there because that state carries real danger. Mixed features and severe depression involve serious suffering. If you ever feel unsafe, or if the impairment starts to look like thoughts of ending your life, that is a medical emergency. And it is not you being dramatic. In the US and Canada, you can call or text 988 to reach the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. It's a symptom, and you deserve help. So how do you use all of this to actually get the right diagnosis? Clinicians are detectives, but they can only solve the case if you hand them the right clues. And I feel anxious isn't much of a clue. So build a diagnosis cheat sheet. 3 headers. Header 1, your up history, and don't lead with the depression. We have to find the highs. Write down your most extreme high-energy stretch. How long did it last? Did you sleep less? Did you spend money or take risks? Did others notice? Header 2, your down history, your longest low. Did you lose interest in what you love? Did it stop you from working? Header 3, the context. Any family history. Bipolar runs in families. That's a huge clue. And whether substances were involved, because it matters enormously whether the mood shifts happened only while drinking or using, or also while completely sober. If you want regular, bite-sized guidance on navigating the medical system without getting overwhelmed, you can join my weekly newsletter. It's free, and the link is in the description. Then walk in with this line. Doctor, I want to make sure we're seeing the whole picture. I've written a timeline of my highs and lows. Can we review whether I meet the criteria for a mood episode by duration and impairment? Those 3 words, episode, duration, impairment, tell them you're ready for a serious clinical conversation. It changes how you talk to the people you love too. Instead of, I'm crazy right now, you can say, I think I'm entering a hypomanic episode. My sleep's been down for 3 days, and I'm feeling the urge to spend. I need help slowing down. That takes the shame out of it. It turns a personality flaw into a management problem. And management problems have solutions. And here's your experiment this week. Become a scientist of your own sleep, because sleep is so often the first sign of an episode. For 7 days, just track your hours. If it drops below 6 and you don't feel tired, mark that with a star. A possible duration check mark for an up. If it climbs over 10, mark it with a circle, a possible check mark for a down. Let's recap, because a diagnosis isn't a guess, it's a checklist. Mood episode: mania at volume 10, hypomania at 7, depression at 1. Duration: 7 days, 4 days, or 2 weeks. Impairment: did it break your life or just change your functioning? And the labels: bipolar 1 is mania, bipolar 2 is hypomania plus depression. Cyclothymia is the roller coaster without the full episodes. And one last thing, the most important one. You are not your diagnosis. The label is just a tool. It's the address of the house you're living in, not the person living inside it. But once you have the address, the right mail can finally reach you. The right medication, the right therapy, the right support. That is the entire point of the rulebook. If this helped translate the medical jargon into something you can actually use, please subscribe. We're building a plain English library for every part of this journey. And your next step is on your screen right now. Bipolar meds. Build a toolkit, not a magic pill. Now that you understand the diagnosis, that video shows you the toolbox used to treat it. I'll see you there. And remember, knowledge is your anchor.